I think some young entrepreneurs, they dive in, they got this new great idea, they go all in, they burn the ships, but they don't have product market fit and they've not done their homework and they need to steal money from the company. So I really think the first 3 years of startup are messy, and if you can kind of run two things while you get the other thing going, I think that's always been a strategy that's worked well for me.
All right, so the next guest we have today is someone very special because when I started my coaching career, when I started transitioning from an agency to becoming a business coach, I found him through my coach, and I saw him interview this guy. His name is David Moerman. And what I loved about this guy is that it was so genuine and without filters, without presenting as if everything is perfect, and just giving straight facts and showing the real deal of what it's like. And I'm a guy who doesn't like bullshit and doesn't like beating around the bush. So I was like, okay, now that I have a podcast, I need to bring this guy on. David, so good to have you here, man.
Thanks for having me on, brother. I'm excited for our chat today, and we'll keep the bullshit to a minimum.
As much as possible. Yes, for sure, for sure, for sure. So you run both a coaching business and also a pressure washing business, which is a very interesting dynamic. And I want to understand a bit more about your background. How did you even get started with the home service businesses, with your pressure washing? Is this your first business? Have you tried other things before? Give me the rundown.
For sure, man. So yeah, I just turned over my 15th year, 1-5 in entrepreneurship. So I came up through business school, actually playing high-level soccer for my local university. I came out of high school, I had a scholarship and was all into soccer. But what happened was I got 2 concussions within the span of 1 month. And I saw high-level head doctors and basically said, hey, you're not allowed to play soccer anymore. So I went and focused on my studies more in business school. And I bumped into a campus recruiter, and they gave me a CD-ROM back in the day in 2009. It said, hey, Dave, you can make $20,000 in a summer painting houses. And so that really caught my eye. I wasn't allowed to play soccer anymore. So I thought, hey, maybe I'll try my hand at this business thing and send myself through business school, and maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. So I honestly, Leo, I dove head into the painting game, and for 4 years, I painted hundreds of homes all the way through business school. And what happened was the 4th year I did it, I graduated, I got my degree, I interviewed for some business jobs, but I found out that's just not me working in an office. I wanted really the freedom to get out on my own. So I transitioned to run a painting franchise for the next 4 years. And then I fully dove into Revive in 2016. So I've got over a decade under my belt running a painting business, and we just turned 7 years old with my pressure washing business. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. But since 19, man, I've have not had a steady paycheck and just dove in full time to entrepreneurship and haven't looked back since.
Beautiful. First of all, soccer, concussions, like that's more of American football kind of thing. Less than
Yeah,
soccer, no?
it's crazy, man. So I got Dutch roots, so I'm 6'3", and I've got a pretty good vertical. So I would probably head the ball 20 to 30 times in a game. But one was an elbow from a goalie. And then the other was just actually heading the ball, and that did it again. So, yeah, you got to be careful with head injuries. And so, yeah, it's kind of one of those things in life, I believe, when one door closes, a bigger and better one opens. And that's kind of was my link from athletics right into business.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree with you on that. Now, before, so you pointed out something very interesting. So you said that, did you buy a franchise of a painting company or you started one?
I just so in as a student, I just got in and got started, and so you pay them percent for every job for a royalty fee, and so then I did that for 4 years, and then I went in to a professional franchise. They actually wanted me to pay up front. I ended up negotiating getting the upfront fee waived, and again dove in for a smaller royalty percentage. So that's really how these franchisors work. They basically give you a business in a box. I'm 19. I knew nothing about business. So they really hold your hand and teach you how to grow it. The only issue I have with that is after 2, 3 years doing it, you kind of know what they have to offer, but then you're paying this ongoing royalty fee. And that was one of my key decisions in saying, I'm done with being a franchisee. I want to go build my own brand with Revive. There are a few other factors, but that was like a big one where I felt I got a little bit stuck in that franchisee kind of world.
So I think that's something super interesting, and for a lot of people who are now thinking of, okay, whether I should start my own brand, my own company myself, or go ahead and just buy a franchise. I know my angle from a marketing agency, which I'll share in a second, but I want to know from the years you've experienced it firsthand, and also kind of the negotiation, what type of tips, insights can you give to young entrepreneurs who are thinking of going on the franchise side of business?
Yeah. So good, man. I would say do your homework first and foremost. I mean, when I look back at my journey, the internet was not as prominent, nor was like online learning. And so, if you were going to learn stuff, you're kind of going to like a library, or the franchise was very attractive to me back then. So I think I would go back to my younger self and say, think long and hard about where the trajectory of this is going. I honestly, to this day, man, I have yet to meet a franchisee who's been in business more than 5 years, and that's over 500,000 in gross revenue that says, I absolutely love this opportunity. They tend to get snookered, and they're paying, like for me, man, my fee per year was north of $50,000. I was paying
Wow.
recurring to get a brand. And again, it was a good franchise I was in. I did learn a lot, but after a certain time, you get stuck with this non-compete agreement. And again, that was a catalyst for me saying, I am bullish on the training market. People need training and help, but I don't think people want to be married to a royalty fee, until the day that they die. So that's why I've went more with this consulting model, and I chose not to franchise Revive because I believe if you're not getting value, you should be allowed to go and exit. But my biggest piece of advice, man, for young entrepreneurs is to not dive into something full time until you have product market fit. And I really
Mm.
borrow a page out of Damon John's book from Shark Tank. He was growing Fubu, his brand. It's in his book. He worked at Red Lobster for 6 years, hustling so he could pay his rent, groceries while he built his side hustle. And for me, I've grown 4 businesses now from $0 into what I believe is a successful business. All of those started with me hustling something else. So like my painting business, I was hustling school. My one painting business, I was transitioning from the other. Revive got hustled up while my painting business was going. And now Home Service Business Coach got hustled up while Revive was going. So I've always kept my stable cash flow coming in. And each company I've started, I've not needed to suck money out of it for the first couple years. So I think some young entrepreneurs, they dive in, they got this new great idea, they go all in, they burn the ships, but they don't have product market fit and they've not done their homework, and they need to steal money from the company. So I really think the first 3 years of startup are messy. And if you can kind of run two things while you get the other thing going, I think that's always been a strategy that's worked well for me.
I love it. I love it. I'll give you my take on franchise, and this is from a prospect that contacted me. They ran a junk removal business which was franchised, and the issue there was that first they didn't own their own domain. So it was just a landing page on the mother company, and they couldn't do nothing about it. Not in terms of SEO. They couldn't, design their own landing pages, create more. So you're shackled to this company with zero autonomy, and you're unable to really grow. So, okay, no problem if you're paying for a brand that generate leads for you, a certain amount of leads per month, which makes sense, especially if you're starting off from scratch, have no idea about how lead generation works. Yes, seems like a good trade-off, but not doing anything for you. You can open up your own domain and start your own lead generation machine properly. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like this doesn't make sense. And a lot of people just don't know these things, and it's super frustrating. That you want to help them, but you just can't.
Yeah. I'll add one more thing too, man. If you are successful and the day comes you do want to exit your business, I believe it's very difficult to sell an existing franchise, because prospective buyers will ask, well, why are you getting out of it? Well, my honest answer was, I'm paying $50K a year and I feel like I'm not getting that value. So I believe I can go start my own thing. That's not really like a great value-based proposition to be selling the business. So I do believe if you run it over 10 years, I believe to my core, you're better starting part-time, learning from an expert, building your own brand so you own the whole thing in 10 years. I do think if you measured success at the 36-month mark, your franchisee may be further ahead because they got the business in the box. But for intrinsic value built in at the decade mark or the 2-decade mark, if you add it, and that's what came to me, man, it was just a math equation. I added up all the royalty fees I'd be paying by the time Dave turns 34, 44, 54, millions and millions of dollars, not to mention my happiness. So it was a great model. It made me travel around the world. I got into my own first place. I got into real estate investing. I learned business. So that was really the model of my 20s, but now of my 30s is owning my own business and consulting those that own their own business. It's just the model that I believe more into my core, but I don't want to paint with a broad brush. If you're in a franchise, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying for me, that was my decision, and I want to coach and be true to my values, and that's just what I found.
No, I appreciate it, and I'm sure there's some upside, because otherwise this model wouldn't be working, and we wouldn't hear of it. But again, from my narrow perspective of lead generation, which is how I view business, like these things, just I don't see. Maybe someone can light me and show me why it makes sense, but it just doesn't add up. And another thing that you mentioned, which is it's true. How old are you now, David?
34.
34. Okay, so we're around the same age. So I'm like 35, and now with this business, I'm like, yeah, this is something that I'm gonna do for decades and decades to come. But when you're younger, you're just like, you're trying and testing, and even if someone would have told me, listen, Lior, just stick to one thing and do it for at least a decade, it might make sense on paper, but it's very hard in your 20s to internalize it. And those who do, like become really wealthy, right? But it's very hard when we're like, there's all this stimulus and all these things, and you have friends who are like, oh, let's start this and let's do that, and like all these different stuff that seems appealing. And so, yes, absolutely, if you're young and you're going into business and you can really internalize this piece of advice that David is giving you, which is think long term, this would be the best piece of advice that you can have for your business and for your own personal success, because this is more powerful. Like the compound of time is more powerful than almost any other force in the universe. So
yeah, man, the compound effect, there's books on this, right? And if you, like, every day you get to grow your brand and have people interact with it, when you're owning that and it's growing, there's value created in there. I think it's kind of that quote in the book, Grit, that Angela Duckworth wrote. They studied to see what actually creates successful people. And there was this quote, something along the lines of like, enthusiasm is abundant, but endurance is rare. And it's like, man, that just like hit me in the face, because it's like, you post today on your IG, you started a business, like your mom, grandma, aunt, your buddy, way to go, Leah or Dave, great job, blah, blah, blah. But in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, when it gets really hard and there's that valley of despair, where did all those people go? And that's when it's like, man, do you have that endurance to go on? And I'm 15 years in, like, hired over 150 staff. We've done millions in revenue. Had great stuff happen, bad stuff happen, broken windows, car accident, like just you name it, it's happened. You develop some scars, but it's that ability to keep going and endure. I think that's what really creates, and that's not a sexy story on Instagram, that a lot of bad stuff's going to happen, but all this good stuff. So I think see the big picture and try to think in minimal years, ideally decades. I think that's what, and Alex Hormozy talks about this, right? How many billionaire 30-year-olds are there? Like, I don't know, maybe like a few. Like, it's just, you need that compound effect to let the results come from the work you do. And I'll leave you with one quote, man. It's, I judge success each day, not on the harvest created from my businesses or me personally. I measure, was it a successful day based on how many seeds did we plant? And if you're a new business, seed planting is just like relationships created or deposits you've made into the brand.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love it. I love it. Yeah. And okay, so you've moved over from painting. What made you decide on pressure washing?
Good question. I love the home service space. My non-compete specified I'm not allowed to paint for X amount of years for this many areas. So I didn't want to touch a paintbrush. And, you know, I talked to a lawyer and they said, you know what, you probably could fight this non-compete and you might win. But again, for me, it was just true to my values. I did not feel that was the right move. So didn't touch a paintbrush, but instead I touched a pressure washer and I touched a window squeegee, nothing associated with the painting franchise, and said, what if I use some of those skills that I learned talking to people and growing a business and plugged it in to my own brand? So it was a humble start, man. $5K I had in the bank. I bought a used Chevy Astro. I started door knocking, and we did $89K in our first year. But really, another thing true to my values was, the good thing with the painting business, I would make about $100,000 to $120,000 of profit for me in about 8 or 9 months of the year. So when I was 24, I started this tradition where I'd take 40 days off. I'd put this phone into airplane mode, and I would go and backpack through Southeast Asia. And so I've been to Thailand now like 5 times to backpack around. But one country I decided to go for was Vietnam. And I just signed up spur of the moment for this motorcycle tour. So I'm on this motorcycle tour and we're going through this village. And I learned that this village, the people don't have access to clean drinking water. And I saw how they lived. And like, I'm just a tourist, like passing through, right? I could just see on the very surface level how these people live. And so I came back home, and as I was getting tired of this kind of rut I was in with the painting, I said, what if I started a new brand that every house we'd wash, we would donate to clean drinking water? And if you Google right now the word revive, it actually means to bring life to. And I learned that we all need water, like water is life. And so I said, well, what if I took 3% of our gross revenues and gave it away? And so that was also kind of the catalyst of how, okay, washing's a good business. I live in a very affluent area. How can we marry up the profits created and give back to a cause I care about? And man, I came from a background where I was giving a whole lot more than 3% as a royalty fee. So I almost charged myself a nominal fee to build a brand I cared about and a charity that's near and dear to my heart. And now, man, we've sponsored over 32 water wells. We've sponsored a school. We've given a lot of money to organizations to help with clean drinking water. So it's like, for me, business is about making money, but also having an impact. And so we're only 7 years in, but that's like I think a big thing for young business owners too is find a way you're different. And for us, we're spraying the same water, but our why is like completely different from our other companies we work against.
That's inspirational, man. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Um, what I found, and again, like for me, with with like for the longest time, I tried to do altruistic things because I was with the mindset. I don't know if it's because of my upbringing, the neighborhood, whatever it was. It's like almost have like bad association with money, where
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't care about money. I'll just try to do, like build community. So I had in New York, I had a one of the biggest tech communities that connected Israeli and American startups, entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, and so on. And I almost didn't monetize it. I monetized it just to cover cost, and I hustled on other things. And in my mind, I was like, no, like I want to keep it clean. I just do it because I'm passionate about it. But
Hmm.
as you grow and as you grow older and become a family man, all of a sudden like you come to appreciate money, and
Yeah.
you understand that this is a powerful force that you can't just dismiss, and you can't, like, you need to shift your mindset towards it
Hmm.
and to like appreciate it more and work towards it. And I think that with what you're doing, it's a perfect combination between the two. Is definitely generate money, build a good business, but also don't forget your values and the thing that you care about, where it's first of all from a sheer branding perspective, that's beautiful, and I'm sure that it helps you uh, open new doors, and people who are looking at businesses who have these kind of mission tend to get attracted to it more than just like, okay, this is the salary, this is what you're doing, and just like
Hmm.
be a technician, but also for your soul. So that's I think that's a great combo, what you're doing. So I just want to applaud
Yeah,
you for that.
man. Yeah, thanks. And one other thing with that, like I really had to look at what's going to be sustainable. And for me, I do believe I have a God-given gift to generate income in the world, create revenue, create profit. And so I know that's a fact. So what can I do with that to create good? And I think sometimes, why do we even call it like not for profit, right? We should really call it like more like for purpose. And so I thought, how can we use this profit and keep it for purpose? And like the people in my business are well paid, they're well taken care of. We need the profit to ensure that's the case, but what we do with that is kind of our prerogative, and we just chose to plug it into charity with to help solve the water crisis. So I think some people are like, oh, go make money and then give back. And then others are like, no, chase your passion. Like you can live on rice and beans. I'm like, I think you can live a great life. And I have a pretty big mindset, and I want to provide a great life for me and my family. When that's a big green check mark, though, you provide for your people, and you need profit to do that. When that's a big green check mark, I think you can also create this trifecta of giving locally or giving in our case globally. And I think for me, that's what's seen me through the ups and downs of business is like our why is deeply entrenched into what I want and also what our team wants. And man, the byproduct is just, it happens to be a cherry on a nicely built cake of a nice marketing thing. But like we're 7 years in, like if this was just a marketing gimmick to hire Revive, like we would have given up long ago. So it's like when it
Right.
becomes in the brand's DNA, it's like it's pretty cool that then like I just believe there's so much impact with that.
Absolutely. And have you gone back to that place, to that town in
Yeah,
um,
I did. I
Vietnam?
went with I went with my wife kind of luckily like right before COVID in 2019. We went and we backpacked around. It's so cool, man. We saw the water projects that my company supported, and we got to meet the people there and hang out. It was like so cool to see. So yeah, I think it's like a good story on like, don't let your mindset be capped on what is possible, because we all say like we want to change the world. And for me, the first job we ever did, man, it was like a $300 little outside gutter shine up. I took a picture of the check. I still have it on my phone because I'm like, man, now we've done thousands of jobs. And that first job, I took 3% and just put it aside. It's like happened ever since. And so, yeah, it's been lots of fun having a deeply entrenched why for like why you're starting the business.
I love it. I love it. Now, okay, so you decide to start a pressure washing business. First of all, a lot of people now, like especially in the Instagram age and YouTube, it seems like from the outside that pressure washing is very easy business to set up. But where do you even start if you're just a young entrepreneur, 18, 19? What's the first step that you do? Is it like incorporating? Is this just buying the vehicle with the machinery? What's the first step that you do?
Yeah, man. So I got the vehicle. I think I had a little more confidence than most because I'd already done it on the painting side to some degree. But I went to Home Depot. I didn't know much about pressure washing. I bought a cheap pressure washing unit, $200, little Ryobi unit, and my guys today bust my chops about it. But I'm just like, I can't stress this enough. We're not a pressure washing business. Like, we're a customer service business that happens to do pressure washing. So I own the marketing, the sales, the business chops in my brain. This business could easily have been a junk removal company or a pool cleaning company. Like, it's not the thing so much. And that's what I preach and help people with. So you got to be like proficient with the thing. But if you're a big minded thinking entrepreneur like myself, I was only in the truck for fulfillment for maybe the first couple months until I was like, you know what? I got to go get more jobs. I got to get this going. So if I was a young kid, man, I would just put an ad up online and I would get a cheap unit, maybe from a local pressure washing store. But man, you could even like go and rent a van at U-Haul or something for a weekend if you needed to really watch your money. But I think eventually as you grow this thing, yeah, you want to officially we call it incorporated here in Canada. You want to be an official business entity. You want to have an official business bank account. You want to get set up on a Jobber or some kind of a software to track everything. And then honestly, man, I would put 80% of my working time into just generating business. So like door knocking, signs, and flyers. That's really all you need to get this business up to 100 grand. Once you get to 100 grand, you've got product market fit, you've got some marketing chops, and that's where I would deep dive into systems, and I'd read the book, The E-Myth, and I'd start figuring out, okay, we got to get the owner off the truck. We got to hire some people, and we want to blow this thing up to $500,000, $1 million or beyond. So that would kind of be my rough roadmap. But yeah, kind of that 0 to 100K startup. I think you should be able to do that in your first year with enough hustle and ambition behind you.
Listen, you speak my language, and every student that join my program, they're getting a copy of the E-Myth audible, along with some other valuable books. But I want to understand really, like, for you, how did you get that first check of $300? Well, like,
Yeah.
was it door knocking? Was it a friend? How did you find that first client?
Yeah, it was all door knocking, man. So again, I had a bit of an advantage. I knew where the gravy neighborhoods were in my area. And so I'm a big fan of building businesses around affluent residential clients. So even to this day, we've got like over 4,000 clients in our CRM. A lot of those are in affluent neighborhoods. We'll have cul-de-sacs and streets where we'll do 8 of the 14 houses in the cul-de-sac that, call our company because we've done marketing so well. But yeah, man, the first 89 grand, I would say, if I'm estimating, 2/3 of that came from door knocking. Hey, it's Dave here with Revive. We're shining up some of your neighbors' homes. We've got some promotions on right now. Could I get you a free estimate on any of our services? You know what? We were just talking about getting the windows done. No problem. Can I walk around, count them up? I'll give you a quote. Sounds good. So we just started with window cleaning, gutter washing, and then we got into like full house washing. But we just started very minimally. Like I said, our average ticket was probably like $300. So the first season, we did a few hundred jobs. It was nothing sexy or fancy that we did. We just got to work, and I was like 26 years old, and we booked a home show too, Leor. Spent a couple $100 on some nice banners, booked another $10,000 that way in our first year. So it's just like, yeah, it's nothing like revolutionary, like, wow, that's amazing. It was just like a lot of boring and unsexy implementation.
I love it. And you said that you only been like doing the actual like truck in the truck for like few months before you transition into being
Yeah.
more of a owner of the business and not just an owner operator. What was this transition like? At what point of a revenue were you that you felt comfortable enough to just, okay, let me just step back a bit and focus more on the strategic of this business?
Yeah, man, we are starting to get, booked out, like getting 2 weeks of work, 3 weeks of work where we're booking. And I'm looking at my calendar saying, okay, well, there's only one of Dave. I want to keep doing my door knocking, keep doing flyering. I also, man, had my other painting business going at the same time. So like that was ticking along too. So there just came a point, and it's all happened to everyone, where you lift your head up and you say, what on earth am I doing the, at the time it was like $18 an hour task. We pay our guys more than that now, but whatever the technical work is, and for your market, go on Indeed right now and just search what a painter or pressure washing technician or a junk hauling technician makes. That's the hourly rate of the stuff you're doing. So at the time it was $18 for me. I said, man, if I get more into selling, I could be making 50, 75, $100 an hour. I can make $500 on a handshake if I go door knock right now. So what I did, I hired my first technician. His name was Graham. He was in a local college. A friend of a friend hooked us up. I told my buddy I was hiring. He said, hey, there's this guy. He's looking for summer work. I gave Graham, rode shotgun with me the first few days. I showed him what we're doing. Athletic guy, goes to the gym, smart kid. Then I gave him the keys. I said, man, now you're driving. Where he would work, I would go and door knock the neighbors. It was like almost like he was like the carnival in the show, and I was like the show promoter. Like, you got to check us out, like blah, 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 blah. And then after Graham, I hired Sam. And after Sam, I hired Matt. And after Matt, like it's so easy once you see the path of like, you can make $500, you can pay your technician $150, and you can pay some of your overhead costs, and you can be profitable. And for me, it got to a point where today I'm making $1,000 a day on my crews working, and the business is running without me. Like, that's really where, and there's far more levels of success. But for me, I never wanted the biggest business. I wanted the most optimized, profitable business that can run without Dave in the day to day. So very humble start, no rich uncle, no, Series A investment money, no, nothing, man. Just like pure sweat, get it done. And that's what I teach today, is like, you don't need to have this huge backing. You just need a huge appetite of ambition.
Amazing, amazing. I think that, you know, now in the digital age, and especially like my angle, as you know, it's more of the online lead generation. Like the door knocking is so
Mhm.
undervalued, and like this, just like go and knock on doors. And when I'm thinking about like companies that I work with, of whether it's even like companies who most of their services are in the emergency space, whether it's locksmiths or garage door repair technicians, is like go into these affluent neighborhoods and just knock on the doors and say, hey, we have a promotion for a new garage door. I see yours is outdated. You're in this beautiful neighborhood, or a new security system. If you're a locksmith, and like I think it's almost like a lost art, and it's like there's still the people who do it, and those who do it well really making like a huge profit. But a lot of the younger generation is like,
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it because I don't want to deal with rejection, right? Like rejection handling is a real thing. It's
Yeah.
like when someone just like slams the door in your face, and I'm sure you had plenty of cases where people are like, no, leave, or whatever it is. In Canada, people are more polite, but in the States,
Yeah.
it's sometimes people get really upset with you just offering your services. So, like, I I want to get your take on the door knocking and on the door to door
Yeah.
art of lead generation.
Yeah, man, it's huge. I mean, even back in the day, when we got started 7 years ago, I would tell people how we get jobs, and like they would look at you kind of sideways, like, you guys still do that? Like, isn't that kind of desperate? And my mentor told me back in the day, he said, Dave, the only reason this works is because 99% are scared to do it. And I'm just like, man, that's crazy. So like I estimated I've knocked on 4,000 doors now in my career, and it made millions of dollars because of that. And it's not everybody, at the door. If they say no, we've passed out thousands of flyers. Like, again, it's that deposit on your brand. Even if they're like, you know what, not right now, you made that touch point. And the reason door to door works is because people buy from who they know, like, and trust. And when you're holding a flyer, to build that know, like, and trust factor can take a while. Or if you see a Facebook ad, like, it's a deposit. But when you're right at the door, it's human to human. That's where like the deals get done. So I think if I went back again and started it, even in today's day and age, I would go right back to door knocking because it does work. So you have to be cautious. Yeah, there's HOAs you can't door knock. There's other neighborhoods might not be the best to door knock. There's a whole bunch of factors. Like, we find door knocking works super well around the jobs we're already working in. So as your brand grows, people know you, they've seen you at the neighbor's house, it does become easier. So for us, it's just, that's how we started, and it's a short pitch at the door. And I think you want to think as a young entrepreneur, where are my 2, 3, or 4 big lead generation sources, right? And you got to pick them. I would be rolling in door to door as really a prominent strategy. We teach it in our program. It's not for everybody. I'm not going to force someone to do it. I always say, market in a way that is congruent with your values. If the doorbell rang right now, or let's just say we're not on this recording, this morning the doorbell rings at my home, I'm racing up there because I love it. It's usually a young hustler selling me something. And I agreed with myself 3 years ago, whatever someone's selling, I'm buying it. So long as it's ethical, chocolate bars, scarves, whatever, I'm buying it because that's how I came up and started. So I have a huge heart for it. But my wife, she's like, man, I'm not sure who's at the door. This is super weird. Like, so that's just me. I'm like a no BS, like, get me at the door. I just love it. And so that's how I built my business. It's congruent with my values, but other people, it's not. And for me, man, it taught me people skills, like through and through and through, was door knocking and getting rejected. So whether that's, I'm married now, but back in the day, you want to ask a girl out, go to a party. I've got friends, getting sidetracked, but then I'll shut up. I got friends that
No,
if
I
we're going to
love
go
it.
to a party, they want to know, man, who is there, who's coming, what's going on, where I'm like, I don't give an F who's there. Just put me in there and I'll go and meet people. Like, I just do not care. So I think that level of just let your guard down. I am who I am. You build so much self-confidence at the door, because I've been called every name on earth, but you build like this resilience. So I think money made, yeah. Business built, yeah. But the biggest win was it developed Dave's personality, and it moved me from being super shy to actually being like learning people skills. And I think that's the best skill you can have in life, is learning how to talk to people.
100%. Two points on what you just mentioned. One is, like you said, that right now everyone who does door knocking on your door, like you would buy, and I think that's true for people who are in sales. People who are in sales are the easiest buyers in the world. Why? Because we just love the game and we love doing it, and it's like we're the easiest buyers. So I love buying stuff. I love that people preach me. Because I'm doing it myself, I appreciate it and love seeing it from other people and how their tactics and how their strategies and so on. So that's number one. Number two, you touched on the touch points of your brand. And I think that when you're combining, let's say, door knocking, right? So maybe that's the first instance that they saw your brand, or maybe it's the second because they already seen your brand and your truck or in your neighbors or whatnot. And then you do the door knocking and they're not ready yet, but then you target them on Facebook with just like, through that zip code, through that area that you're now targeting them. It's like eventually they'll need that. Like they will need that guy to clean their driveway or their windows or whatnot. And you be that guy that they've already seen multiple times, and now they feel comfortable with reaching out to you.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story on that, Lior. So a couple years back, we were doing these multi-touch point marketing, right? And so we let our technicians drive their vehicles home. We don't have a centralized park spot. So one of our technicians drove a vehicle home, lives in this neighborhood area we call Fleetwood here. So he's driving to Fleetwood, parking his van every day, okay? We do a sign blitz. So we put a bunch of these lawn signs up into Fleetwood, okay? So that's second touch point. Third touch point, this guy's cruising Facebook. He sees one of our ads, clicks, gets a quote. Okay, we get the lead in. I see this is a big community. I think there's like 80 units here and he wanted them all washed. So I turn up there to estimate. I bring my manager because it's a pretty big job. We end up booking it for $12,000. And this is a contract that recurs every 2 years. And then we offset that with gutter cleaning, which is another $5,000. So beautiful. Big contract for us. And the Strata manager looked us in the eye. He said, my goodness, you guys' marketing is so good because I see this van every day. I see your sign and then I'm on Facebook and I see that and I call you. And I'm like, we just did that job a couple months ago. It's like one of our favorite accounts. And I'm just like, that is the definition of like the multi-touch point. Because if we just drive the van, maybe we get a call. We sprinkle signs in, better probability. We turn on paid in the neighborhood, best probability, and then you do a really good job and you recur them. So it's like, just to illustrate that point, this stuff works. I see it work in my business and it's like the coolest thing.
Amazing. Now, we talked about, like you just mentioned something that I think a lot of people are interested in, especially those who already have a running business, which is either recurring jobs or a subscription model. So how do you increase the lifetime value of your clients? Like, do you have some tips for people who are already been in business, already have, the few dozens of clients that they work with, maybe some more? How do you increase that lifetime value of client that you already acquired, which is the hardest part?
Yeah. 100%, man. I think it's not talked about enough in our space, and that's called the cross sell. Okay, so I know you're a marketing guy, you probably know about this, but let's say your audience doesn't. So you guys go to McDonald's today, okay? Do you want fries with that? That's actually not an upsell. That's a cross sell. If you're buying a hamburger, right? Let's say you're buying a hamburger because you're in a product category for hamburger. You're getting cross-sold the French fries, right? And then you could argue it's an upsell because you're paying more, but you bring in that other service. Do you want fries with that? So what we do, man, it's called a job. If anyone's taking notes, this is a writer downer. It's called a job closeout card. And when our guys are done at the job, let's say we did let's say we did a window clean, okay? $300. We shine up all the windows. We're in and out in an hour and a half. Easy job. We have a job closeout card. And so that card lists our services, and then it has a date beside it and a tick box if we recommend it. And so our techs will go at the end of the job, they'll tick off roof clean and pressure wash the driveway, and they'll write the date they recommend that gets done on. So let's say that we recommend this gets done in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever. Same way, if you go to get your oil changed, hey, this is when we recommend you to come back. And so we've done that. And then we also have our office team do a happy call, which is within a week to 2 weeks after service, we reach out and do a check-in. They don't pick up, we leave them a message. Just checking in, everything's all good. Any concerns, give us a phone call. We'd love to get you back onto our schedule. So by following up on service and cross-selling at the end of the job, that's worked very well for us. We have tried the whole we'll come every 3 months on the first Friday of the month and do your thing. For us, we now have 6 services we do. So, we'll do gutters, windows, pressure wash, house wash, roof clean. We do Christmas lights. So we do a few things where it's not so simple just to recur it, where you're coming, like getting your grass cut every second Tuesday or whatever. With us, with cleaning, the sales cycle's a little longer. So we've chosen, don't do the $99 a month subscription, pay for whatever. It's so complicated. We've just found, have a big client base, happy call them, cross sell them, email them 4 times a year, phone call them 2 times a year, build the brand in their area, and just constantly say, we're here, we're here. But our lifetime value of our clients, we run on 7 years, and our best clients, it's north of $15,000 as an LTV for us. And that's how we do it.
Unbelievable. And like you said, this is something that if you're running a service business and you're listening to this is a money making tip that David just gave out for you guys. So thank you. I really appreciate it, David.
Yeah, man.
What about recruiting? Because I think that one of the biggest issues that I see with my students is, hey, I don't find good enough techs. I'm frustrated. They're not doing a good job. And again, I have my angle for this, but I would really love hearing what you have to say about hiring good quality employees and technicians for your service business.
Yeah, we could film for like 5 hours on this, man. I'll try sum it up. So yeah, I think for me, I've made a lot of mistakes with hiring, and it's something I think you're always learning. And even you talk to, HR departments in Fortune 500 companies, there's same frustrations you have as a small business, south of $1 million trying to get good people on your team. But I think there's a few hacks you can pull out. Number one, I would say is figure out how to make this a career and not a job. So for us, we used to hire, seasonal students come in. Dave goes off to Asia. Like, the business kind of doesn't do much during the winter. We added on Christmas lights 4 years ago, and we threw out our seasonal business model, and we now keep people 11 months of the year, revenue coming in. We pay people year round. Our managers are on salary. So we've made it a career, and we figured out our business model to run year round. So that's tip one, figure out a year-round business model. You're going to get better people. Number two, again, writer downer. If I had one hiring tip, I would say cruise Craigslist, Indeed today, find out what people are making and times that hourly wage by 1.15. We pay 15% higher than the industry average because I see labor on my profit and loss as an investment. When you run a service business, your people are your product. And so if you truly want freedom from your business like I have, it's contingent on hiring the highest quality of people. You do need to pay them well, but you don't need to pay them exorbitant amounts. I just find if 15% higher than the industry, you cream the market for the best people. And those of you with real estate rentals or aspiring Property investors take it from me. I go the other way too. If I'm listing a house for rent and all the ads say 2,500, guess what I'm doing? 2,250. Get the best people, drop the price, open the floodgates. So same with hiring, just go the other way. So try be a little bit different that way. Point three, hiring is all contingent on core values. If you don't know what that is, look it up, learn from an expert. It's one of our earliest modules we do in our coaching program is teach people how to identify what their core values are of their company. We have 5 at my business. I won't go into them all, but we hire for the attitude and we train for the skill. That's point 4. Build out a training boot camp. You need standard operating procedures for everything that you do. Dave can't just get off the truck and give a pressure washing wand to a tech and say, go make me money. You need to train them. We have 26-page training manual, checklists, train people how to do things. I love this service-based business because we can train people in 1 to 2 weeks how to be competent in the jobs that we perform, and they can go out and make us money within a couple weeks of training. Last point, 5, set a big vision for your company. Your vision needs to be big enough that people can build out their umbrella like within your solar system. And so figure out, where's this thing going in 3 years? If you're only going to build a $400,000 business, it's going to be hard keeping people year round for that. If you want to grow a $1 million business or a multi-million-dollar business, you can have some well-paid talent into your business. And how much do you pay people? Again, writer downer. Whatever your revenue is, about 50% of that is going to go to payroll. Paying your technicians, your office team, your salespeople, your managers, paying yourself 50. That's a good true north that I found to ensure that you stay profitable. So I'd listen to that all again and I would do those 5 things, but I could give you 50 things if you want, but those would be the biggest 5 for right now.
I love it. I love it. Let's keep some things for the people who will join your program, which is my next question. So you were successful with running the business itself, and then you started a coaching business, teaching others how to do it successfully. Who is it for? Why did you do it? Why share all your secrets?
Yeah, totally. One, I think there's not secrets in business. There's no $1 million ideas. There's only $1 million implementations. So the issue, man, is that the vast majority of contractors who start junk removal, painting businesses, washing companies, they end up capped at about $150,000 in gross revenue, where they're saying exactly what you said 5 minutes ago. Can't get good people. How do I make money? How do I get jobs? How do I build a budget? There's so many technical minded business owners that own a job, not a business. So I learned that years ago. And when Revive was coming up and running without me years ago, I said, do I want to franchise this thing? I went down that road. I said, I want to franchise my IP, my intellectual property, without charging people an arm and a leg. So our program now, it's a 9-month program. You come and work with us. You got to do at least 50K of gross revenue, ideally more like 100. You've kind of hit your ceiling where you're like, okay, this is frustrating me. And we don't teach anything technical, man. So if you want to know how much, sodium hypochlorite to put in a house wash, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the business systems and how to build a profitable business that can run without you. So we've now helped a couple hundred business owners to do this. And honestly, man, why did I do it? Because it brings me, like, you wash someone's house, they feel good, you feel good. We've got the charity component. It's awesome, right? But when you change someone's business and livelihood, you change their whole life. And we've got guys that have come to us doing 100K. We grow them up to 500 grand, 750 grand. We help them hire a manager. We free them up. And man, I've got 3 coaches today working inside Home Service Business Coach. They're all coaches because they were clients of mine, grew their business runs without them. Now they're coaching, helping others to do it. So we're really building out a brand in the marketplace that's not just Dave coaching, we're building coaches and having a huge impact. And we're fighting against what I believe is the dinosaur model of franchising. We're saving people tons of money because they're getting our learning here. And so, yeah, I franchised the IP of my business through this program. So we're 3 years in, we're growing, and I'm having fun every day getting on talks like this, man, with you. And it's just been a whole lot of fun for me.
Beautiful. And is the focus mainly on pressure washing companies, or is it broader?
We're broader. We're probably 2/3 washing companies, so window clean, gutter clean, pressure wash. The other third would be like landscaping companies, painting companies, junk removal. So not too much like electrical, plumber, HVAC, but more those entry level, low skill required services. We want to work with the growth minded entrepreneur. Might take them 10 years to do it on their own. We're going to show you how to do it in 2 or 3 kind of thing. So that's really where we specialize.
Amazing. Well, we're in the AI age. We can't ignore this anymore. I wanted to hear from you because I loved all your nuggets so far and all your insights. What what do you see the AI impact and effect on our industry? A, and B, have you found some cool tools that business owners can use to their advantage that are, AI based tools?
Yeah, tools, no. I'm probably a late adapter on this and purposely so. I think I'm more just on the sidelines kind of watching. Like, man, I've done the chat GPT to write an email to a client, and honestly, in 20 minutes of my time, I can write and I'm not saying I'm smarter than chat GPT, but to a client writing an email, I've not seen one written. I'm like, I would reply to that. So I think it's in its infancy. I think if you give it time, it can definitely be exciting and I'll be more interested. Where I'm most fascinated with this though is on the consumer end. I don't think we're going to be Googling for get me 3 quotes for pressure washing. I think that's where AI is going to come in and automate the heck out of a homeowner's life, just getting things handled. Where I'm very interested in seeing it is, for example, in my neighborhood, like, why is there not one company that just comes and does everyone's windows on the same day? And that would be my goal as a business owner. But it's gonna be some company like an Amazon who already has the market share of everybody and the data, that instead of Revive charging, $300 for Windows, your Amazon Prime account can include that for $118. You can, like, significantly lower. But that also creates a gap, because I think what's going to happen, you're going to have service business owners like me, as the labor shortage increases, wages are going to go up a lot. What we charge is going to go up. And I believe the highest, the most affluent people will want to still work with a boutique model type of business. They won't want to go with an Amazon, because what happens if your windows are streaky? You're going to have a heck of a time getting someone back. So I think this whole AI movement is going to lag in the people department with trades, but I think it will first switch around on the consumer front, and us getting quotes, we'll somehow have it programmed to our phone, and it'll just be set up that a company will come and take care of our stuff, and it'll just get handled. So yeah, no specific tools on my end, but I'm very bullish on the consumer side front, because it still is a dinosaur model, I believe, how most people go and book their stuff. And it's working now, but I'm thinking 3 years, 5 years, 10 years in the future, I think there's going to be some pretty big changes coming.
I agree with this 100%. On the email part, I don't know if you've tried ChatGPT 4 or not, or it's just are you subscribed to their paid ChatGPT or just a regular one?
I did the regular. Is it get better?
Oh, way better. So I just published
Okay.
a video of how I created a Google Ads calculator, and I built it, David, from scratch without knowing how to code, just me interacting with ChatGPT. It took me like a week almost, and I'm still in the process
Wow.
of tweaking it and making everything work.
Okay.
But imagine me not knowing anything about Python and how to, run things on servers and stuff like that, and just back and forth, back and forth, and it's unbelievable. So with this, I tend to
Wow.
disagree, but with the other part of the user interaction with the internet and the way we're consuming products and services, I 100% I agree with you, and we will see a shift from search. First of all, in my, I believe that we'll see a shift from text into voice, right? So it would be just like,
Hmm.
hey Siri, I need to get a window cleaning for my house in um, Albuquerque, New Mexico, in this neighborhood, whatever it is, and they'll be like, okay, no
Hmm.
problem. Here's the best company based on reviews, da 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 da. And do you want me to book you
Hmm.
an appointment for tomorrow at 8? Yes, perfect. Do that. So it would be more monopolized,
Yeah.
but I think that um, there's also a lot of opportunity for growth for businesses who invest heavily in their brands, like yourself, like all these touch
Yeah.
points. Like these things will affect the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't just randomly pick one company, or it won't pick just based on your proximity to that target client of yours. Obviously, it'll have effect if you're 50 miles away, but you want to build a strong enough brand across all platforms. You want to be on TikTok and YouTube and have a podcast, like all the things that you're already doing. So you want to have that as part of your efforts to build a omnipresence brand that search engines and AI tools appreciate, learn to rank, and eventually it'll reward you. That's really my take.
Yeah, I love it, man. 100% agreed on the brand front. Like when you can become that brand authority in your area, both online, like we're talking about, and also the offline, when you marry up those two, and you just want people thinking, because we know the stat, right? Like if you searched your market, only 3% of your buyers right now are ready to pull the trigger, take my credit card, clean my windows, clean my gutters, whatever it is. It's programming the other 97% constant touch points, and then they get a trigger, they see another company, they get another company at their door, and they think, oh yeah, I need to get that. Who's the guy that I keep seeing? Whatever. You gotta, people want to get famous on social media. Like I say, get famous in your neighborhoods you work in, and like study those areas. What's a home worth? Where do they kids go to school? Where do the families vacation? What kind of cars do they drive? Like we Leor deep dove our ideal target avatar so much. My wife's like, you're a psychopath because you're like mapping out this exact person. I'm like, when we know exactly about them, that's why our marketing's so good. And if you do this
100%.
right, you'll start off knocking doors like me with no money, and you'll transition and you will become your ideal avatar client. And I tell our clients this that are building these large, profitable home service businesses, you can go live in those neighborhoods and then you can learn how those people make decisions because your income improves. So I think focus on the business, the sales, the marketing skills, because like I tell everybody, your technical skills of washing or painting or moving junk removal, you'll make a living. But if you learn the business skills, you'll make a freaking fortune. And so it just comes to which ladder do you want to have your wall against, and what Alex Hermosi says, like, which boat do you really want to be rowing in? Life's not about rowing so much harder, it's choosing the right boat. And for me, I'm sitting in two boats. One, I'm choosing my service business, dominate locally, keep growing, adapt with the changing times, like we said. Two, my other boat is in, okay, it's worked here in Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. It's worked for the hundreds of other people. Now let's help thousands around the whole globe. And so I want to row in those two boats that I'm very bullish in the service businesses, just growing over the next bunch of decades.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's been such a jam. To be honest, it came out even better than I was expecting, David. And I had high expectations from you after that first touch point that I
Good.
had with you. Last question. You can't ignore that beautiful bookshelf behind you. What are some
Yeah.
recommendations for books for young entrepreneurs who are starting their journey? Obviously, we mentioned E-Myth before, but do you have like 2, 3 other books, or even audiobooks for people who are starting out? What
Yeah.
should they consume in their beginning of their career?
Man, only 2 to 3. Let's see. I was thinking 20. But let's see. So yeah, we talked about eMyth, and eMyth has a bunch of different segmented books now for industries, but I think eMyth Revisited is great. I've read that 13 times now myself. Great book, fundamental. Two, I was telling you, Who Not How is great behind me. I've got it standing up. That's going to talk all about delegating and okay, like you've got to get off the truck. How do you build that mindset? My wife got that for me for Christmas only a few years ago. And Leor, I went ham with this even in my home life. Like we hired guy to come in, cut the grass. Lady comes in, walks our dog now. Cleaning company comes in, and we get our food delivered. All that's done for like $500 a month ish. So you don't need thousands of money to throw and have all this like glamour lifestyle. Like you just need to get these things off your plate, so that you can have more time freed up. So that's a great book on delegating. Way up top here is a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. I'm a big systems guy, and I think the greatest system you can build as an entrepreneur is learning to say no and learning where your time is going and figuring out how to really focus on the big dominoes in your business. There's too many entrepreneurs focused on these little optimizations and let's change the font of our website and let's do this little thing that let's spend 3 hours making an Instagram story. Like focus on the big dominoes. So that'll help you run a simpler business, more effective business. A lot of it's kind of that 80-20 rule and figuring out, I'm going to say no to everything, but say yes to just the best things. So we got E-Myth, Who Not How, Essentialism. So maybe grab one more. I'm just looking backwards here on my shelf, man. There's so many. I'll probably say two more actually. One will be Raving Fans. That's a great one. We get our teams to read that. How, we're running a service business, how to really win over people with doing such a great job. And then the final, I think the fifth one, simple read, is called Who Moved My Cheese? And I love that book just around business is very hard and you're going to get knocked down. What is your mindset when bad things happen? When you get the concussions, when you get this hard setback, do you sit and cry about it, or do you be sad about it for an hour and then get to work on fighting against it? So that's a great one too. I could give you like 10 more, but those would be 5. Go read that and then hit up me, hit up Leor and say, those books are awesome. What else you got?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Where can people find you? Where can people learn about you? And obviously, if entrepreneurs who are building businesses in the home service industry want to learn more about your program, how can they find out more information?
Yeah, man, we're over 100 free podcasts now. If you search Home Service Business Coach on Google, our podcast is everywhere and growing. So that would be kind of a nice segue from this. And if you've heard enough and you're like, sounds like Dave didn't make the stuff up, I want to grow a real business, just go to homeservicebusinesscoach.com. We've got a deep dive on our program, and we recently filmed like a pretty cool program breakdown video too, showing you exactly what you get. So you can find all those at those resources. And last thing, if you just want to personally ping me an email, it's dave@homeservicebusinesscoach.com. If you're like not ready for coaching, this episode was sick, just want to say hi. Love getting weekly emails from like podcast listeners or just people from like stuff like this. Just reaching out, kind of just saying hi. Really like hearing from people we make free content for.
Amazing. David, enjoy your weekend, brother. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and for all the jams that you dropped on this podcast. For the rest of you guys who listened and enjoyed and want to hear some more from people like Dave on other podcasts, if you want to grow your home service business through lead generation and want to hear more content on that, make sure to hit the like and subscribe to this channel. And till next time, guys, thank you so much. See you soon. Peace.